Welcome to a series that we call The End of Times, where we're going through the book of Revelation verse by verse to try our best to see what it is we can expect to happen in the end times, or the time Jesus refers to as the end of the age. Now, where we are in this book, John had been taken up into the throne room of God, where he notices that God has a scroll in his hand with 7 seals, and it's determined only Jesus can open that scroll. And as those 7 seals are broken, we see events taking place on the earth. Now, God is always in control, but it is the hearts of men that is ultimately at the root of these travesties that take place with these 7 seals. Once that scroll is open, what we see within that scroll is the divine coming of God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. And that is in the form, at the beginning, with 7 angels who have 7 trumpets. And we've gone through 6 of those trumpets, and we're finally at a pause in the story where we're introduced to 2 witnesses, which I believe are the multitude of tongues and nations and tribes professing Jesus Christ that we see in Revelation 7, Revelation 9, Revelation 11, and Matthew 24. And the other witnesses being the 144 Jews who are marked by God who profess Jesus Christ as well. And then they have certain powers, and now we're at a point where this war, they're to prophesy for 1,260 days. And now we are, and that's about where we are. So we're going to pick it up in Revelation 11, verse 6. These have the power to shut heaven so no rain falls in the days of their prophecy, and they have power over waters to turn them into blood and to strike the earth with all plagues as often as they desire. Now when they finish their testimony, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit will make war against them, overcome them, and kill them. So we're just going to take a little time and talk about this war and this beast, which we'll get into way more when we get into chapter 13. We're just being really introduced to him for the first time. But this war between the beast and the remnant of Jesus Christ is clearly spelled out in a couple other verses. So we're going to jump ahead. I don't like jumping ahead, but we're just going to kind of point towards this war a few different places because it gives us a little better idea of what's taking place in this war. So we're going to jump to Revelation 12, verse 17. It says, "And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring, who keep the commandment of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ." So these people are professing Jesus Christ that he's warring against, and they're clearly given this great authority and power by God because they are able to sustain this war for 1,260 days. And then we can see this again in Revelation 13, 4 through 10, when they talk about the beast from the sea, and it says, "So they worshiped the dragon who gave authority to the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, 'Who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him?' And he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months. Now that's the same amount of time as the 2 witnesses are prophesying. All right, let's pick it back up in 6. "Then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven." So now we have the abomination, and that's when all this sets off. "It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation." Just like the multitude, the description of the multitude that was killed in Revelation 7. All right, we'll continue in 8. "And all those who dwell on the earth will worship him, whose name have not been written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world." So we're talking about non-Christians here. So this war is against the Christians, against the saints. It's against the Gentile Christians, the Jewish Christians, well, all Christians, the 2 witnesses. And this goes on for 42 months, or 1,260 days. So we're just going to kind of, again, focus on this war. It's between the Christians and the Antichrist. They're prophesying for 1,260 days, and they're given this great authority. Anybody tries to kill them, they get killed. They're causing plagues, and they're causing water to be turned to blood, and they're withholding the rain, so there's no crops. So it's clearly a problem for everybody on the earth that this witnessing is taking place, other than the witnesses. So they're really stirring up a lot of trouble for the Antichrist and the rest of the world who are not written in the Lamb's book of life. So, who is this beast? Well, let's not talk about the beast himself. Let's talk about the dragon who's given authority to the beast first, because it clearly says this beast is making war, but he's given the authority from the dragon, just like the witnesses are given the authority from God. So on earth, it is a war between the world, the Antichrist, and the rest of the world, and the Christians, but really it's a war between heaven and hell. It's a spiritual war. We battle against principalities. So let's see who is at the head of this evil war. Well, if we jump to Revelation 17, again, I hate to jump ahead. We're just going to kind of grab a few verses to talk about this war. If we go to Revelation 17:8, it says, "The beast that you saw was and is not and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition, and those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast that was and is not and yet is." So here we got really a very, very similar description on all accounts and purposes to what it says on the verse we're actually studying out. So let's go back to Revelation 11:7 again. It says, "Now when they finish their testimony, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit will make war against them, overcome them, and kill them." So we're talking about the same thing. This is a dragon that's coming out. It's the devil that's coming out of the bottomless pit, and he's then making war, a spiritual war that ends up as a physical war against the saints. So let's kind of just study out the devil that comes out of the bottomless pit. If we go to Jude, it's just one chapter before Revelation, verses 6 and 7, it says, "And the angels who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own habitation, he was reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day. As Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them in a similar manner, to these have given themselves over to sexual immorality and gone after strange flesh, are set forth as an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire." So the devil, much like many other angels, was fallen. But you can see this all the way back in Genesis, in the very beginning this took place. But we know this to be the devil because we can get an even better description of this fall in Isaiah 14:12 through 21. "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, how you are cut down to the ground, you have weakened the nations. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the furthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, I will be like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, to the lowest depths of the pit." So it's Lucifer. It's ultimately Lucifer is coming out, and he is then given authority to the beast. And we'll get into who that is and what that is a little later. It's coming up soon. It'll be chapter 13. But ultimately, it's the devil. It's a war between God and the devil, or the angels of God and the angels of hell that are taking place. And we're just caught in the middle of it. Well, why is this war taking place? Well, first and foremost, it's always been taking place. But it's getting hot now. It's becoming a serious battle that many are dying over. The saints are prophesying for 1,260 days because it's about the coming of the kingdom of God. And the devil does not want that. He is the prince of the earth. If we take a look at 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4, it said, "Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first. And the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition." So, again, it's the same description, but there's this great falling away. And we're seeing this great falling away in front of our very eyes. Here's another description of who this is, but yet we're staring at it. We're watching this great falling away. And we're watching so-called Christians just abandon the Word of God, and just there's clearly no spirit within them, and it's just falling away from the church, unlike anything the church has ever seen before the beginning of the church. And I think we've really seen it in the last couple decades, but more so in the last couple years than ever before. And let's go back to 2 Thessalonians. We'll continue in 3 and 4. "Who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So ultimately what you have is you have a beast that is given authority, and he's going to sit in the temple in the abomination, declare himself to be God, and then that will kick off a 1,260 days of prophesying by the saints. And it clearly says a multitude of all nations, tribes, and tongues are doing this. And they will then be killed, and this killing will continue, but they will be essentially able to withstand the beast for 1,260 days. But as we're going to see, when they're finally killed, it's just grotesque what we see after that. And we're just going to then pick it up again. We're going to go back to Revelation 11 here where we started, and we'll go back again to 7. And when they finish their testimony, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit will make war against them, overcome them, and kill them. So it's very important that we start to see ourselves as these witnesses, as the remnant of Jesus Christ. Because even if the two witnesses, I mean, I could be wrong, even if the two witnesses are Old Testament prophets, clearly a multitude of all tribes, tongues from around the world, and 144,000 Jews are prophesying and professing Jesus Christ throughout this whole time and being killed for it. And they're being killed for it. And there's clearly a war that rages against them. Not just a war against these two prophets, but a war against the remnant of Jesus Christ that goes on for a long time. And then what we'll see afterwards is that they essentially celebrate the death of the saints. So, hope this video is helping. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Put in the comments below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. If you feel called to support our channel through Patreon, that link is also below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests, and never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.